start. Thank you for coming back in. Brett is for his last lecture of an excellent series. This is something we don't talk about a lot in podiatry, but we should be talking about this more, doing this more in our offices. Excellent revenue stream with aesthetics in podiatry. So welcome Dr. Ribotsky back. Aesthetic podiatry, put it to work in your practice. Thank you.
A lot of pressure down. On? Okay, now you can hear me, great. All right, I came up with this pedal soft tissue temporary augmentation pasta. I thought that was cool, it tasted good. Well, what's all that? For the next frontier, fillers in the foot. This started from the concept of how do we get people better. Now, if you look at what dermatology has done, the filler market and that whole space, they have changed everything. But we started it. You guys remember keratin? Yes. Podiatry was first to this game, before anyone else even thought about it. So we did. So let's talk about foot fillers. It gives you nice things if you use enough of them. And of course, my boat angles away. I thought the logo I came up with, I thought was really cool. Again, I'm from Botox, so we're down in Florida. Changed a while ago. It's over there in the south part of the county. So what do women look like when they're happy in Boca Raton? They look like this. And when they're sad, and when they're worried, and when they're excited, depressed, and asleep. You know, they don't move their faces. But it's all about the shoes. I don't get you, ladies. Guys own 4 pairs of shoes. Life is good. Women have 400. They don't have enough. They buy I can't tell you, Manolo Blahnik, Jimmy Choo. I can't imagine what they cost. I went to the store, $1,200 for what? And they have them. But this obsession started with the queen of shoes, Imelda Marcos. She is your leader for those who bring down the shoes, without question. When you put it together, it's like, what is this quest, and how do you put it together, and why will they spend all this? They won't buy a pair of orthotics to make their pain go away, but they'll buy a $1,600 pair of shoes. What I like to refer as limo shoes, because you can't really wear them. Yeah, I can't tell you the shoes. I actually carry an extra bag of real shoes when we go somewhere, because I'm sick and tired of my feet. I said, it doesn't look good when you say your feet hurt to people. It just, either let me fix the problem, or stop it. But, you know, you get a pair of shoes, it's got nothing to do with the shoes. We all know you got to get a purse to match it. And then if you need a purse, then you need the wallet inside. And once you get the wallet inside, then you need a scarf. And you guys probably need gloves. And then, of course, you get a new thing. So let's talk about aesthetics. What is it? It's the definition, it's beauty. And beauty, they always say beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But I think we'd all agree on what's ugly. Yeah, we're all done. Ugly goes right to the bone. It's on top. All right? It's what appeals to the senses and what makes you feel good. And you can look at every magazine. We sell beauty, sex appeal. That's what the brain is hardwired to do. But there's certain factors that are consistent on each person that makes it look good, look beautiful, or not. The media got involved in this a long time ago, well before the Swan and some of those things. Homely girl competition. Who is the homeliest girl in New York? They wanted to find out. A great opportunity awaits her. The magazine was looking for the homeliest girl contest. Who would enter? I mean, how psychologically messed up are you if you're going to enter the homeliest girl competition? The problem is if somebody enters for you. That's a whole other story. But we have reality TV today. This was the big thing a while ago, where you had the Swan, you had Extreme Makeover, and MTV's I Want a Famous Face. And people were going to people to change who they are, what's beautiful. I mean, this is Christina, I think, from the Swan. And if you look at what they turned her into. Okay. How about this lady? You know, it could be the nicest, most friendly person in the world. But she look like that. The problem is that this one has a child with a guy who was also fixed, and they wonder why the kid doesn't look right. My kids were playing hockey as young. My son played hockey. Still does. And I remember being there, and a woman comes up to me and goes, "You're a foot doctor, right?" "Yes." And you couldn't see the big foot on the back of my jacket. And I said, she goes, "Can I ask you a question?" She goes, "I have bunions, but my mother had bunions, and she had them fixed. So now the music's going in my brain. So you want to know why you still have bunions? Because your mothers are fixed?" Okay. Rocket scientist here. I said, did she get them fixed after you were born? She said, yeah. Well, that's why. You got to come up with a good answer. But if you look at this, there's certain aesthetic features. The space between under her nose and the top of her lip equals her pupil distance. There's, you know, the lines. We'll go through this in a second. I kind of believe if you have enough money, there's no ugly people. You know, there's somebody who will sell you something. And beauty occupies everything we do. You know, you can just reoccupy. It changes things. Throughout history, beauty is important. It's, you know, Aristotle asked when people desire beauty, he responded, no one who's not blind could ask that question. From a practical point of view, plain babies are ignored more than the beautiful siblings. It's wiring. We try to please attractive people. Attractive people get away with stuff. Good-looking adults are more likely to get away with cheating. They're more likely to get away with being speeding tickets. Guys know that. The good-looking girl doesn't get the speeding ticket. We get taken away. So they've done this in studies and science and looked at the importance of physical attractiveness in society. And it's global. It isn't just the U.S., Australia, Brazilian, Canadian, France. It is global that being attractive helps you. Life is easier when you're attractive. You get better grades. You're judged more kindly. You're given more personal space. You're likely to marry more if you're more attractive. And that's the whole point of it. You're likely to be promoted at work. They've done a whole study in the armed forces and showed that it made a big difference. Men and women. Shorter wait times for service. Bad behaviors forget. There's a famous quote by Greg Norman, the golfer. He was in some 19th hole after a round of golf, and this drop-dead, gorgeous, blonde girl, completely rebuilt, walks through, and every guy's head turns. And he turns to these people and goes, somebody thinks she's a bitch. And it was a great line. And it was reminded me of Christy Brinkley on her 4th divorce trial. None of her previous husbands would testify on her behalf. So it's unique to see. Just because you're attractive does not necessarily mean you're nice. You're likely to be imprisoned, you get help, it's kind of nice. Beauty, basically in a, you know, I guess phylogenetic way or a survival way, is about survival of the species. I mean, that way. And then health correlates with attractiveness, and we got to look at all that. And aesthetic interventions can potentially improve self-esteem, quality of life. Like, I don't get hair transplants. Those guys make an absolute fortune. You know, $10,000, a guy stands in line. Being bald is cool. I mean, Yul Brynner made that really cool. But there's people, and the worst is the lousy comb over. It's like, okay, we know you don't have hair, but we're faking it. We all get it. Get rid of the comb over. And all that. Because health, beauty, survival, well-being, enhancements are all about beauty. And beauty goes back. This isn't a new thing. This is 4,000 years ago in Southern Africa, where they paint the face, and they found in the ancient Egyptians razors and tweezers where people tried to make themselves more appealing. I mean, this is not new. So the fuss about it, according to Plato, is to equate beauty with the recognition of external forms of goodness and harmony and symmetry and the privilege of nature. That the more you can do, the more you can put together, the better off you are. And all this. Freud said, what's the fuss about this? Beauty is the sublimation of sexual attraction. Genitals aren't beautiful. Hair, face, and figures are. And that's why you highlight them. And it's his thing. The ideal quality of beauty can function to transcend feelings of loss and vulnerability. People like, I mean, a day at the spa feels good. I don't get the day in the beauty salon. So life, I think when I retire, I'm going to do hair coloring. Because I don't see a single person in my town with gray hair. I don't know why. I don't know if it's in the water. But I get my hair cut. The same guy's been cutting my hair, I think around 16 years now. I've been through 7 or 8 different salons with him. Each time he moves, it costs me more money. But the guy does it. I don't worry about it. And there's a guy there. This place does a lot of hair coloring. It has that awful smell and everything. Not the straightening, the formaldehyde. We got rid of that from the Brazilian stuff. But they color it. These women are paying $200 every couple weeks to get this done. And then I found out I was paying for it for the other half. I knew nothing about it. I was like, how much? So I'm thinking, okay, he does 12 people a day, $200 a piece. That's $2,400. It's $300 grand a year coloring hair. Who's the idiot? Okay. So hair coloring, good business. Better than shoe store, I'm sure. Reparative process, reduce anxiety, disorderly, perception to long life, you search for beauty. This isn't even something you think about. This is hardwired in your brain. Functional MRIs have shown that when they show somebody a beautiful image, it stimulates the part of the brain that's the reward center. It's equivalent to having sex, using cocaine, making money. The dopamine pathways are really excited from all this. And that the images are simple to process, more attractive, prototype, ideal female. And what is the ideal female? I mean, brains work differently. The male brain, we're very visual. We process things differently. If you look at certain porn industries geared towards men, it's all visual. Men like shiny things. No question about it. You know, our brain is wired kind of this way. There's sports, dangerous pursuits, you know, some little things. His attention, you know, we don't have a lot of attention there and all that. Right? TV remote addiction center, you know, we have a theory. Not to be different in the female brain, it's a little different. They're cooperative, they bond well with children. They're very choosy about finding a mate. Men aren't as choosy. Women think about this for, you know, longevity and procreation, so they're very choosy, and they process it, you know, so they have a very big jealousy center. Telephone skills are very high. Need for compliment hemisphere, you know, the chocolate center, the shopping lobe. You know, things that, you notice the male brain has a very large sex center, the woman brain's got a much smaller one. It's right here by listening between shopping and jealousy, so you're going to find it, guys, but it's not that easy. When you look inside of it, though, you wonder about podiatry. Should podiatry be involved in the brain? Well, here's a surgeon finds a foot in a newborn brain. This was 2008. They did an MRI, and they're looking at this, and if you look at the picture in the brain, somebody had a teratoma, right? Now, is this a podiatry case or not? I'm not sure. My license lets me do feet. I'm not sure. All that. So I ran a seminar many years ago called Remember the Knee. Got a lot of, you know, it went very well. A lot of people liked it. APMA did it. So I'm telling them I'm going to do Remember the Brain now. Brain surgery. One day symposium, how to do all this stuff. But what are the characteristics of an attractive human face, right? Everybody would tend to agree that these two people would meet the definition of attractiveness, right? Men, women, you know, all that. What do they have? Straight eyebrows, curved eyebrows, right? Eye position, this is what, Nicole Kidman, right? But he got tired of her and replaced her with Katie Holmes, right? Was there a big difference in the beauty? Lips are the same, spaces are the same, things are different. If you go to a dermatology meeting, in the aesthetic side, they get into the anal, the plastic surgery side of ratios, and there's something called the golden ratio and phi. All these calibers are invented, and there's rules of 1.61, all these rules that go into effect that go do that. But we'd all agree that this person presents something we would find aesthetically pleasant, right? As well as the new king, the future king of England, aesthetically pleasant. You know, Dennis Quaid, what, Michelle? Meg Ryan, right? You know, aesthetically pleasant. They meet that guideline. Here's Naomi Campbell and the Madonna painting. This isn't new. This is over the period of time. We're wired in our pons part of our brain, I'm sure, lower, you know, reptilian aspects of where we are. The face is almost identical. All that. So let's talk about beautiful physicians. You make the call. How about this guy? Right? Everybody knows who this guy is. You know, his nasal labial folds are a little deeper, but yet they're filled in. The nose, the tip of the nose is below the earlobe. The chin is kind of lost a little bit. You know, pretty attractive guy, and we all know Warren Joseph. How about this guy? You know, no deep nasal labial folds. He hides his marriage netlines in his goatee and all this. And, you know, you can tell he's obviously younger than the first guy, but Dave Armstrong. And let's talk about real good looking. Okay, you know, nasal labial fold. Notice there's an extra crease on this side versus this side. Guess which side this guy sleeps on? You wanted to, like, freak women out in the bar, guys? You tell them what side of the pillow they sleep on? Yeah, you can figure this out. Yeah, of course, that's the younger me, skinnier. But we age differently. This is a really cool video. This took me forever to figure out. Actually, I did it for one of Martha's lectures. But if you watch, this will recycle. Watch when you get older. You age differently. Caucasian man, Caucasian woman, Asian, and black. all age differently. Guys get old at 65. At 55, you'll watch a massive change in men at 55. Changes. So the whole goal is not to get to 55. Women, it tends to change a little bit different. Watch how they change it around 51, 52. You start to see the hollowing of the jaw, the hollowing of the zygomatic arch, and all that. So they age a little differently. Very cool stuff that was done. It took me forever to get all these pictures to line up. But foot aesthetics, right? We've been doing foot aesthetics is something. Let's get the podiatry. But you need to understand a little bit about aesthetics as we move forward. This goes back to the Sung Dynasty. This isn't like anything new. Chinese binding of feet. They considered the little foot more aesthetic, even though they crippled these girls and all that. These itsy bitsy shoes. And look what you kind of done. And the X-rays are pretty incredible. You can't walk on these things. Pretty bad things you put all together. So what do we do with all these things and all these feet? And how do we apply them together? Because feet sometimes yell at you. They're not happy. So again, choose the mat. I was actually shocked. Some people haven't registered for Meet the Mat. I'm kind of shocked. Podiatricsuccess.com. Make sure everyone goes there. It's free. You know, you can go back and listen to all these things. There's a couple absolutely great ones that I would say. You know, send me an email if you, depending on what topic you're interested in. But, you know, actually there's Markinson, the bigger Markinson. Kathy Stone. I mean, I actually had a game at one thing. Can you name them all? And of course, I was the only one who got it right. Again, it all goes back to experts. You can go sit and learn. How about Steve Jobs and Bill Gates sitting in the, talking about the world, or Mick Jagger and Jimi Hendrix kind of hanging out. Find out experts. So let's talk about some things. Let's get the rubber hit the road a little bit. Microdermabrasion. This is something each one of you can do in your office if you choose to do it. And I'm going to present a whole bunch of ideas. Basically, there's crystals. There's basically a machine. It fires, you know, sawdust, crystals, something at it. It causes a little interruption, an abrasion of the dermal layer, the top layer of the skin, the epidermis, and then it sucks it up in a vacuum. So there's a bunch of different companies. This one we have is an aluminum hydroxide crystal. It pumps at high speed. It's like sandblasting in some capacity. And use a couple passes to do it. You get some erythema afterwards if you piss off the skin enough. And here's just one of the little machines. I think today they're about $4 or $5 grand if you want something like this. Comes with a little probe. You take the foot. I hope I get the video. There you go. And you just basically sand the callus off. Right? The person who won't pay you $50 to do this with a blade will pay you $150 to do it with this.
You can see the small layers being left by the aluminum hydroxide crystals, as well as the keratinocytes being removed. There's a suction motion from the machine.
Of course, I don't really do this. We have technicians and estheticians who do this for some of the videos.
Get back over to the foot. As we go in opposite directions. First time we go up and down. Second time we go east and west.
Don't want to leave it in the same spot too long, so we'll take on most of this stuff.
Then we'll concentrate on the area of the deeper callus for 4 or 5 additional strokes.
You get an idea. You wind up getting, I think I probably would get more off with a scalpel, would be my firm belief. But the scalpel's going to pay me $50, and this is going to pay me $170. And that's their choice. People get perceptions. They want to do things. But on faces, it's pretty good for acne scars. It's pretty, I mean, microdermabrasion is a real skill in what people do. Next thing is peels. Everyone's heard of peels, right? You know, facial peels, make you look younger. You know, you got to choose the right chemicals and do all this. And you want the peels to induce exfoliation and speed up the cell turnover. Multiple formulations, superficial, medium, deep. You don't do deep because you can't walk on it. And what you're doing is you're creating a wound. For lack of a better term, you're burning them, you're creating a wound. Collagen, elastin, glycan, growth. The whole science here is that's important is knowing. In dermatologist, Jesner solution is something you kind of, that's indoctrinated in anything. So I like things like cholic acid peels, lactic acid peels, salicylic acid, trichloric acid, strong. What you really do, right? You take a layer and you wipe out the skin cells. You know, you look red. That's why people look younger after a peel. You wipe them out, then you start getting re-epithelialization. Keratinocytes come from the sides, they grow from the hair follicles. And you get, like, this skin had wrinkles, this skin doesn't. And it helps with the texture of your skin. Well, that's a great way. You probably use it in your practice. It's a great way to make you look younger. And the key, again, that's how dermatologists are all beautiful. And I think that's one of the entry requirements. High zygomatic arches, nice smile. That's how they choose them. So immediately post-op, you stripped off the peel. You basically burned all that tissue away. And new cells grow that. It looks good. Where are the classifications of peels? We all remember all our pictures. Superficial is just the stratum corneum. Then you go between the stratum gangulosum and the basal layer, and then the medium goes to the papillary reticular dermis. And you know, you don't want to go too far, but this is kind of where you want to be. So let's go do it. Let's go play the foot facial. Okay, I do go to foot facial on the internet. You'll find me Estrada, other doctors. This is Dawn. She's in Orlando. She closed her podiatry office and off with a foot spa where it does that. There's kind of cool things they do. This is Michael over in Chicago. He's got a whole thing on beautiful beach, Chicago. Golden Door Spa is doing it. But, okay, so here's how we do it. We basically take solution A, remember it comes in a kit, and you do it and you basically condition the area, and you rub it on the feet. Then we take our 50% glycolic acid, we're doing a TCA peel here, and a glycolic acid peel, and we paint it on the foot. What do you, it happens, it gets hot, right? Burns them. So real key, you buy 2 fans. These are $6.99 at Amazon with a little clip, with a fan above and a fan below, and they don't complain that their feet are hot. So that works out pretty well. Then we neutralize the acid with some bicarbonate. And then what I do different than everybody else who does one, even Susan Levine, is I had a lot of plaster left over. Right? I've been using the STS socks for years, but I had lots of plaster left over. So I did the podiatry difference. Remember? Got to get perception about it. So what I did is I took our plaster and I basically dropped it on the top of the foot like we did for orthotics and all this stuff. Well, we editors have done it, right? You know when it dries, it kind of gets tight and squeezes and sucks stuff out of the foot. I don't know really what it does, but it feels cool. Right? Just one of those things to be a little cooler and a little different. Then we take the allergen, the mucilage, the normal stuff, you mix it with some water, you turn it into a paste. You then so what I think is the plaster sucks out all the oils and sucks everything out as it absorbs, my story. And then this stuff puts it all back in. You basically soak it in this, you make this nice mold of stuff, you put it all over the foot, they sit for a while, you peel it off, you take $250 from them, and you tell them to have a really nice day. And of course, the esthetician doesn't, maybe $22 an hour or something, $24 an hour. I don't know what they pay up here, but it's not a tremendous amount of money as long as you keep them busy. Here's one of the cool walk-in closets. How men and women view life a little bit. His closet's just a little different than her closet. You can't treat men like you treat women. And Botox. I mean, I think this is one of the pictures that probably helped kill Carrie. You don't let people know you're doing it. Obviously, you don't do it. I mean, you see Hillary's new facelift. She looks really good after her facelift. You think somebody would teach her how to dress, maybe. Saturday Night Live. You watched Saturday Night Live last week or 2 weeks ago, where she dressed and she took off one of her pantsuit outfits, and underneath it was another one, same color. It's kind of funny. Barry Manilow. Some people look like freaks, but here's Botox. Yeah, it's a bottle with nothing in it. It's clearly empty. It costs you about $550, $60 a piece. There's nothing in the bottle. Their first time was like, what are we buying? They're empty. Remember, it's just life alive. You got to put something in it. You shake it up. You reconstitute it. It's basically bubonic plague in a bottle. And how does it work, right? I mean, we're not going to spend too much time looking at it, but it basically is the physiology of sweating. Basically, it starts with your central nervous system, your cortex, tells your hypothalamus, it talks to your brainstem, it talks to your spinal cord, to your sympathetic ganglia, to your apocrine sweat glands, and it stimulates them, and they release perspiration. Hyperhidrosis is a big problem. It affects a lot of people. Most people, the feet don't care. But if you buy $1,500 shoes, you care. And one of the greatest things I tell you that I do is I go to the high-end shoe stores, the Neiman Marcus in the area, and you talk to the ladies who work there. And one of the things I did was that, listen, come to a webinar. I use a lot of GoToMeeting and stuff to meet the masters. And I said, well, come on, I'm going to talk, I'll answer all your questions. Thursday night, once a month, and I hand out little cards, have them printed, 4x6 little cards that, like these things. I think you buy 1,000 or 5,000 of them for $200. And they're pretty colors, nice. So I hand it to old people who work in shoe stores and stuff like that. If they have any questions or anything, 5 or 6, sometimes 7, call in and ask questions. But you're their friend. You're who they're sending the people to. Now you talk to them. You want these ladies to buy a lot of shoes from you because obviously she makes more in commission than I make. Maybe stopping the sweating in their feet is something that's valuable. So let them know you know something about it. And that's the whole key. Be friends to people. You shouldn't be able to walk in your grocery store without everyone knowing you, which is the worst thing in the world because everyone knows you in your grocery store. Good goal is a little different one. But prime working ages, 66% of people have never had any discussions with anyone. And look at it. Now, Botox isn't Botox anymore. There's Dysport. There's the other one, Xeomin. There's a bunch of players in the market. It used to be just Botox, but probably Botox. Botox is the biggest brand in the world, followed closely by Viagra. These are brands that have been marketed that are worth a lot. I think Apple is behind those. But in pharmacology, you're effectively looking at snare proteins. I don't know who this impresses. But basically, you cleave something in a 3-step process. You clear the snare proteins, you inhibit the neurotransmitter release, and the N-ethylamine sensitivity factor, who cares? Basically, you give this stuff, you get paralyzed. But what's really fascinating is it doesn't happen for 2 days. So somebody goes to get Botox for the first time, they get it injected in their forehead, they walk out the door, and your family goes, okay, how come you can move your forehead? I just spent how much money on this stuff? It doesn't work for 2 days. You got to make sure you tell people, and then recovery starts about 3 to 4 months. Axons in that area. I write about on PM News. I do it for kids who are toe walkers. They walk around there, up on their toes and the heel. But if they stop and their heels come down, anatomically, I don't think they need surgery. So I just paralyze the muscle. I have this thought about people who have Jones fractures. Why don't we paralyze the peroneal brevis tendon, and then it should heal quickly? A shot of Botox, the perineal, that doesn't work for 4 months, boom, things should be better afterwards. Oh no, so what it does is the Botox gets in the acetylcholine release. You only got to hear this ever once in your life, and then you never have to worry about it. How do we figure out, where's the rubber meet the road? There's something called the iodine test. Basically, you paint somebody with betadine, and you let it dry. And then if they happen to sweat, the iodine then gets liberated. So you paint it with that, you cover it with cornstarch. And what happens is if they sweat, you get a stain of purple, right? Because anybody's done surgery, right? Use betadine, put the gloves on, it's purple. The cornstarch seems to react and make a purple marker. So if you're going to do this on somebody's foot, you do this little test. Then you circle the area. Okay, the video would have shown somebody with a pen. Basically about 2 centimeters apart. I like 1.5 or so. I go 2 by the MPJs and smaller down by the heel. And you draw out little dots. And then for whatever reason, everybody agrees 50 units for one side and 50 units for the other side. So if you know you have 20 dots, each one gets how much? 2.5. In 2.5 times 20, it's going to give you your 50 units. So you take half the bottle and you do it that way. And concentrate the bottle. I like to concentrate it with lidocaine. People do saline, people do sterile water. You know, use lidocaine, it doesn't hurt. So it makes it last a little bit longer. And then real important, don't inject through the little dot. You'll be tattooing them. Like I never understood, we have a profession where people draw a line on the foot before they do the incision, and then they take a scalpel. And the worst thing is the world does not be perfect with your line. Then the scrub tech goes, he can't even follow his line. So I never draw the line. Sometimes in cases I'll cross hatch it so I know how to put it back together. But that thing. But make sure you don't go through it, you don't want to tattoo them. So you make, here we go. So you do that, and you effectively, you have eliminated, I mean, we do a Botox workshop and get some feed. It's an easy thing to do. You just have to practice, you know, very short injection. Dermatology gives great injections. Your plastic surgeons don't give as many injections as the dermatologists, so their skill set isn't that good. Some people have gotten it paid for. I've written prescriptions for it, and some people have been able to get a prescription where the company will actually pay for the bottle. I give them a prescription for the bottle of Botox, and they come back with it. Of course, they only wanted half on their foot and the other half in these areas, but that area. So let's just briefly touch some lasers, things you can do: tattoos, scar, pigmented hair removal, vascular lasers, and of course, I love this Saturday Night Live one.
And if not treated early on, it will only get worse as you grow older. Really cool lower back tattoos. It seemed like such a good idea at the time, didn't it? Hello, I'm Dr. Edward Turlington. The study showed that next to smoking and having sex, getting a lower back tattoo is the best thing a young woman can do to be cool. And you ladies were cool. But now, let's face it, you're not young anymore. You're not even close. That's why you need Turlington's lower back tattoo remover. Look, here's a really cool lower back tattoo on an attractive 20-year-old girl. Now watch what happens to that tattoo when that young girl. That's why I developed Turlington's lower back tattoo remover. Just apply once, every hour, for 72 straight hours. And watch that tattoo slowly burn away. Soon enough, that silly mistake will be long gone. And that slight discoloration will be the only thing to remind you of that crazy weekend in Jamaica. Well, maybe not the only.
Okay, at least I can push the edge. I don't want to spend time, everyone knows what a laser is. It's light amplification, it's simulated emission of radiation, it's photons being elevated to a higher level, and we excite them and they shoot out the end in a collinear fashion, and it's the energy and the power density and all this stuff. But remember, you need something at the other end to absorb it. Like the people who are treating onychomycosis, T. rubrum with a red laser. Okay, why a red laser? 1064 is red light laser. Well, what are you hitting? T. rubrum doesn't have a color red. T. rubrum grows red on DTM agar. So what they're doing is you're effectively heating the nail bed or something underneath it, and hopefully enough temperature. And Bonnie Alusky did a study that you had to get to almost, was it 44 degrees, I think it was? 50 degrees or something centigrade in order to work. They punch you well before you get to that level. It hurts. See, it doesn't really work the way we think it does. Maybe there's other philosophies. Some other people got a lot more experience than I do in that, but I have not been successful with it because it didn't make a lot of sense to me. So some of the other ones, you know, I remember at some seminar, I said, "But why are you using the red laser?" And the guy said, "Well, T. rubrum's red." I said, "In a dish." And the company guy was like, and the other doctor was like, "Shit, he's right." He didn't think about it. And we have all kinds, whether they're continuous mode, relative mode, pulse interrupted, relaxation time, how they go. I can't tell you. The average laser we have to sell in 18 months. Some of them 9 months because there's a newer one coming out and everybody wants them. And these things cost $150,000 a piece. And I think we have 9 of them currently. And you know, so you got to make. That's why things are expensive. And they go between ruby, Q switch, diode, ND, yang, ermiums, C CO2 is completely a different level. They burn the heck out of everything. And they're all used for something different. So how does the podiatrist even get into this game? Well, the smart thing is you rent the laser. There are companies in every major city that will come by in a van and give you a laser for a couple hours or a half a day. So if you wanted to do something, you basically put all the patients in that category on that day, and you rent the laser for that day. And probably the guy or girl who brings the lasers into your office knows more about it than most doctors in town and do an incredible job. An IPL is not a laser, and some people have that and tell them to do laser stuff. It's intense pulse light, it's multiple wavelengths, different things. People use it for skin tightening. They got to use a cooling head to it because people don't like getting burned. Then we get the vascular lasers. They're pretty cool. You know, you see a little vein on the top of the foot, and you treat it. Here's pre and post, and you know, the vein's gone. And then this one was cool. This is Polymar's one that I bought for a little while because it had a screen on it. You can just, like a TV set, and I felt like I was a stormtrooper from Star Wars. And you would just shoot the things. So you put the target there, you hit the button, boom. Another one, hit the target, boom. I would actually play Star Wars music. I do want you to know that just to freak them out in that area. But it's pretty incredible because you're getting instantaneous results. Boom! Ta-da! And it works well. Here's erbium YAG laser. This kind of something you can play with. We use it on calluses when somebody is anal or wants to spend the money for it. And you don't want to breathe this stuff, so you have to have a smoke evacuator. And you basically zap it away, take an alcohol swab, wipe off the top layer, do it again. There's a little evacuator trying to get the smoke out of the way. It's kind of cool. Would I spend $1,500 for to cut calluses? It's all what you're selling. It's all if it works in your community. And that's why you don't buy it. You rent it. You try it. Do the thing. Here's a tattoo removal laser. That's a little different. We get that. It's kind of funny. It's amazing how many guys are becoming our biggest growth area in aesthetics. And so what happens when they get divorced? All of a sudden they take care of themselves. And what happens? It's interesting. Men get divorced and lose weight, and women get married and gain weight. It's kind of a different. What do they say? The most fattening food for a woman is wedding cake. It just tends to happen. So here's the clinicaltrials.gov. I looked this up the other day so we could have it. This is, if you wanted a place to go to find out where the edge is, everybody should know about clinicaltrials.gov because every clinical trial has to be listed here. And you might even think about getting involved in research. That's another half-hour lecture. But research is very profitable. We have 2 postdocs and 3. One's a nurse, and the other 2 are medical assistants. I think they're nurses. So we have 5 people, and then I get to champion that in our practice as far as we do about 17, 18 real insurance studies, and then we do a whole bunch of what we call physician-initiated studies where the real money is. And that's where every dermatologist does that. There's a woman named, Zoe Drelos. I mean, there isn't a product that hits the shelf of Walgreens she doesn't comment on. She also does all the studies for QVC and whatever the new miracle cream of the week is. There's always they find some berry in the middle of somewhere and rub it on your face and you're younger. I don't know, but people buy this stuff. So you do it. Again, I showed you yesterday, don't forget the importance of nails. We were doing preliminary reports on diode lasers in '84. I mean, podiatry goes back a long way in this space. There's all these different machines. Here's a study I did. Dan Waldman is a podiatrist in Asheville, North Carolina. His whole practice is laser nail. He was on Meet the Masters, you could listen to him. So he flew down and visited me, because of course, as in everybody, they have a relative that lives in South Florida, retirement. So I said, let's do a study together. And what we did is we effectively, I found about 50 patients. I did every other toenail for free. I was really excited. I was going to do every other toenail. And you can hear it clicking, beep, 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 beep. And I think this is Cutaris laser. But every other toenail, and I was hoping to show you great pictures of every other toenail looking beautiful. Didn't work. Didn't work at all. And that's why I don't know where we are with lasers. I'd love to see it. Photodynamic therapy is a treatment for psoriasis. DUSA is a company that does that. They basically give people something. I don't know, you swallow it? Or you paint it on. You paint something on, the chemical gets inside the cells, and then it has a chromosphere, which is something that absorbs a certain wavelength of light. If we could get some color thing in the fungal cell, then we can make a laser to that color thing and only just blow up the fungal cell. And I think that's where it's going to be heading. Medusa tried it with nails and it didn't work and all that stuff. So we look at it, I think research is pretty good and everything, but toenails, results are predictable. Lasers do not work in all cases, and sometimes you got to own a lot of different lasers. Might be worthwhile to partner up with a dermatologist. The value, I think renting is clearly the way to go. Let's go talk about fillers, the exciting stuff we can go throw in people's feet. Initially, tissue augmentation was employed to erase lines. Today, it's the whole facial filling. It used to be you fill the lines, that was the whole thing. Now the whole story is sculpture on voluma. We're going to pump the cheeks, which pulls the face up, and everybody's an artist and a sculptor. But half the women walk around with duck lips. Right? Because it's strange, everybody does this today. I was very shocked. The veterinarian had assigned Botox in this office. What are you doing? Botox to add dogs? He said, no, the mothers and the young women who come in with their dogs and cats. Everybody's doing it, and it's such a skill set. I mean, yeah, you can go to any class and learn your bunch of dots, 222 or 444, and how many units you put somewhere, but then they look at the eyebrows crooked. Go to an expert. What they call core specialists, dermatologists, ENTs, plastic surgeons, they understand the anatomy. Your primary care doctor, your veterinarian isn't the one you want to go to, and all this stuff. So, how do we break up fillers? How do we decide what to use? They come in different areas. You want non-allergic, non-migratory. You don't want it to move, safe, stable, long-lasting, pain-free injections, and undetectable, right? So when you generally lose, what's missing, how much is missing, what's available, and areas to avoid. So if you want to say what's missing, in faces, it's the wrinkle. In the foot, it's the fat pad, right? It's the cushion underneath the bone. How much is missing? I don't know. A quarter, a dime, a nickel, come up with a size or something. How much is there and what's available? But when they look at it, the idea of looking at the rest of it, between the glabellar lines, the vermilion borders, remember the upper lip is 1/3, bottom lip 2/3. I mean, what is considered attractive by going back to our definition of aesthetics. And they classify these things as either permanent or non-permanent. And there's other classifications, biodegradable, animal-based, autogenous. The big one now is the vampire facelift. I don't know if you guys seen that ridiculous advertising. It's basically it's the PRP stuff. Take somebody's blood, spin it, give them the blood clot back. What that does is causes more collagen stimulation. It basically that way. I actually at one of the big derm meetings called South Beach Symposium. It's down at South Beach every year. I made this comment on the things that boxers don't get wrinkles. Boxers don't have wrinkles. If you ever looked at the boxer, you get hit in the face all the time, you don't get wrinkles. Men don't wrinkle as much as women. Their skin's better. Why? They shave every day. They have dermabrasion every single day. You're kind of doing that. Women don't do that every single day. So look at it. So here was one of the first studies on all this stuff. Here was the Journal of Foot Surgery, 1988, almost 30 years ago, right? Cross-link, collagen stuff, keratin implants. This was a big thing. I mean, the authors were pretty big in this. And then here's another abstract. This is 96. Report on the clinical evaluation of cross-glutaraldehyde in the treatment of halomaduras and halomomoles. And this didn't get anywhere, right? Anybody involved in it? Anybody remember it? Yeah, you got to be an old-timer like me to remember some of this. And it had, what they have, like 40 people on the page? I mean, it was everybody who was anybody, from Keith Kashuk to Lowell Weil to Frank Chase, that, a bunch of APMA presidents, everybody who's anybody who's involved in this company. They put a lot of money into it. But if they would have thought about the face, we'd be really rich. Really rich. And all this stuff. But there was one guy alone into this. A guy named Saul Botkin. If you have Saul's podiatrist, Saul, he passed away about 3 or 4 years ago, but I got to spend some time with him beforehand. This guy was injecting silicone in people. And I'll show you his notes. We're going to look at some of his cases. He was so nice to share with me. But what he did is he would inject them in people and then ask them if they passed away, could he have the legs back? So he had all these post-mortems to go look at. And he published, they also partialed the DermSurge, one of the more respected derm journals out there, looking at a 41-year clinical and histological history. A Nobel Prize if he had 2 initials after his name instead of 3. I mean, this is, nobody does, I mean, you don't find work like this in any capacity in LA. So here is Saul's stuff, 41-year history. You know, you start off with this, you inject a little silicone, and you got that. You know, another little one here. I mean, the work was pretty incredible. He had real rubber hit the road results. Of course, these were his charting. That was his notes. Fascinating. It's just like, the years, like 1966, you know, how much he put, and an X where he put it. Could we come in today and reproduce that? Yes. Which is the purpose of why notes were done. We're idiots. We run 5 pages, doesn't say anything. It just goes on and on. But here's this one. I mean, these are problems that are tough to deal with. Right? Inject them. They go away. Now, silicone. Here's an ulceration. I mean, he had some pretty large cojones and a different legal world. Silicone has its problems. Here's another one. They go away. A heel wound. You know, an IPK under the heel. It's about cushioning, and it's pretty incredible what he did. The pathology reports. I mean, this is, I don't know, probably little punctate lesions, and they're gone. Bad heel calluses, and they're gone. But silicone isn't the best thing to use, right? Dow Corning learned that. You know, they took it on the market for breast, put it off the market for breast, put it back on. I think there's one good place for those breast implants. Massage tables. You got to lie with your face on that thing. It hurts like heck. I've been into that for a while. I can't get anyone to do that. I tried to get a use pack on it. Couldn't get it. So I came up with, what's the best of all this? I think the real key is the pedal soft tissue, and I like the contemporary. There are some fillers that are permanent. They're little plastic beads. Artifil was one of the ones on the market. They injected in their nasolabial fold. And my answer to the gurus and all this was, as you get older, that skin is somewhere else. It's lower. So now I have another line of stuff, and it's not there. So I don't want it to be there. My goal was it goes away right before the trial. Right? If it wears away, you know, you're going to get, if somebody was to bring an action against you, it's a year or 2 years before you wind up in a courtroom. I want this stuff to be completely gone before we get there. That was my thought. So I went, Renella and Joel wrote a really cool paper in Cottage Derm where they broke down all the different things and all the different fillers out there and which one you should use. And now the newest study, the big buzz in dermatology is something called rheology. And I put this in one of Martin's lectures a while ago because one day I was sitting going, how come the ketchup sometimes comes out of the bottle fast and sometimes it doesn't? And I got bothered by it. You know, probably as a kid, nothing would have happened. But there's a flow of matter. Rheology is the flow of matter and how it performs and how it understands this. Sort of with Newton. They have journals of rheology and all this. But if you looked at it, here's a high-speed video of a drop of something hitting the ground. Now, each product is a little different. Each product has different surface tensions. And you look at all this. Now, anybody's had a glass of wine, they call the legs of the wine as it comes down. If you have the right glasses, the right L glasses, you see those little lines. You're effectively looking at the Marconi effect. And you're looking at how it breaks apart, how it interacts, and how this stuff comes together. And then there's a rheology society in every country, which means if you write a paper on this, you get invited to lecture at all these places around the world. Something. And then I found the final paper was somebody did a study on ketchup. How cool. Google is the greatest thing. You know, there's no question. You know, how much easier it must be to be anything today. Of course, I love you guys have worked with residents or students, and they're really cool. They give you the answer to anything because they look it up on their phone. And then you have them scrub in and you ask them questions. Deer in the headlights. They don't know anything. They can't come up with an answer. Sometimes the internet's not available. But if you look at this curve, because if you turn over a bottle of ketchup, nothing comes out. But if you shake it up, it comes out. So you have particles floating inside of particles. And that's what fillers are. If you think about it, you're going to be injecting some sort of particle inside of another particle. And you need to know the dynamics and how all this comes together. Or at least somebody needs to know it. And you get success leads to lose, copy them. But you should have some understanding. Like somebody says, oh, I use Sculptra, and I use this. And you ask why. They don't have a clue. There's got to be a reason why you do these things. And here's comparisons. We're trying calcium hydroxyapatite. And we've all used calcium hydroxyapatite as bone filler, right? We've used it in bone stuff to shove in holes, making some bone cement and stuff. So it's been in the body a long time. Hyaluronic acid, been in the body, it's in our eyes. It's in a lot of things. We inject people with it. So this has been around a long time. This study was done by Ken Beer and people. Ken is in West Palm Beach. But he did this whole thing at 30 degrees centigrade. Who cares? The body's 37. I don't care what the properties are to 30. And I was like, I tried to write that review and they wouldn't take it in Cosmo. You think we have politics? You should see Derm. Now you got rich people with politics. It's kind of fun to watch. You know, so here was another physical properties of hyaluronic acid. This is what it is, really. It's stuff floating in stuff that's living in stuff. And if you went to one of the meetings, one, you get really annoyed because they talk about needle sizes. That's like a big deal in dermatology. Like we use a 27 gauge needle. They have one that the inside is, or the outside of the needle is 27 gauges, but the inside of the needle is 30 gauges. Does that bother you a little bit? How can it be bigger? Because the wall is thinner. They make, it has the equivalence of 30 gauge. And the goal is the smallest needle you can put in somebody's face hurts the least. And that was the reason behind a lot of those things. So it got to which product to try. I gave up. I asked Martha. An older picture. We now have about 10 more people working for us. And it's a pretty big thing. I went with Radius. Initially, this goes back to early 2000s. Radius is calcium hydroxyapatite. Couple reasons. Stability, rheology, it stays together, and most importantly, it shows up on an x-ray. I kind of like the ability to check it. I want to know if I put it where I put it, is it where it's staying? So I've been using Radius for now 10 years or so. And it comes in these little microspheres that look like little, I want it to look like a dermoscope, but polysaccharide gel holds it together. It's, all this stuff, nobody really cares. When you inject it, you want to be away from the bone. The goal is to get fibroblasts and collagen to start building up everything. And the calcium, here it is, puts a lattice structure where ossification incorporates around it, the scaffolding, the soft tissue can fall. It's all a great story. Nobody's ever seen that scaffolding. It's kind of fun because they've injected these in people and animals and done things, so it does well. So these were the little syringes they once had. It was 0.3 cc's. Try it. So here I have a lady. Nice lady comes to me, typical, little HAV. Her problem is right here. The two bones touch together, right? Gets in the way, causing a little callus. The bones are together. Could you take off a little bone? Could you fix the bunion? Sure, that would solve the problem. So we, of course, mechanically try to fix her. We make her an orthotic. We do all the right things. And she says, hey, I'd like to give this a try. I didn't know anything about it. This is like late 2005, early 2006. I didn't charge her or anything. I said, if it works, great. Next year, I got her, and I have a spokesperson. So I made her sign consent form. She knows everything. First thing I do is numb up the toe. Makes sense? We all know how to do that. Radius comes in a few sizes. I used a 27 gauge needle and basically injected it with right underneath the callus. Really no idea what I was doing. Well, ta-da! Here's where I made it numb. Here's where I went in there. I went from the other end. Dermatology's got all these terms: depot, cross-hatching, fanning, all these techniques of how to do it. My goal was to put a pillow, a little Tic Tac was my idea, to put a bunch of it right in that spot to have a cushion. So I do that. There it is. You can see the callus right there. You can see it better in the later picture. But I puffed it out a little bit. I said, well, I don't know, maybe padding will be good. I don't have a clue. So I put a pad on it. All that, wrapped it with a little Band-Aid. Life is good. Get an x-ray. Kind of cool. Can't do that with any other fillers. Can't do that with aluminum, Radius. Pardon? Yeah, immediate. It's an immediate x-ray. And if you look, I think I do it here, look at this. If that arrow is exactly the same as that arrow, you can see I pushed the toe over a little bit. I accomplished my goal. I feel pretty good about myself that day. Not that I don't normally feel good about myself, but it was a special day. I felt good about myself. Even more. 10 days later, she comes back. Now, we've all gone to meetings and everyone tells you the patient says she's this much better, that much better. How much of those people are full of shit? A good portion of them. Not my patients, they hold a sign. The only way you're ever going to, if you have a patient holding a sign, it's real. You know, you can't get patients to hold the sign. It doesn't make sense. So she's 90% better in 10 days. I'm pretty happy. So, you know, here it is. The toe's not much swollen or anything. Looks kind of the same. God, the young me. Got out my ultrasound machine. Still don't know what I'm looking at on that machine. I see geese fly. If I know what's wrong, I can find it. But if I don't know what's wrong, don't have a clue. I wish I did. I don't get it. So I did ultrasound, and here's the phalanx, and here's this wavy line. I don't know what it is. But I realized it's a big wavy line there. So here's my x-ray after 10 days. Oh shit, it moved. Now, according to dermatology, this stuff doesn't move. The rheology, it stays together. It doesn't move. One of their dictum. But she's 90% better. So I tell her, well, we got to keep watching it. Okay? So here's 3 months later, 100% better. Callus is still there, but it's looking a little softer. But 100% better, I can't beat it with. Can't argue with that. Great. Take an x-ray. It's still there. It hasn't moved anymore. Caught on to that. Kind of stayed in its spot. Here's 210 days later. She's still 100% better. Well, I want to sell her a new one. I want to sell her a syringe now. Because remember, all these things last, what, a year? I mean, that's about, you know, if you get lucky, you get a year. That's what they told the companies. So here's 100% better in 210 days. Here's her x-ray. So if we look at the x-ray between 10 days and 210 days, they're almost identical. Stuff hasn't moved, stuff's still there, pain-free. So here's the picture of here's 210 days, you can see the little callus, actually that's probably the best one, callus is done. So I have gotten rid of that IPK. I'm a hero, at least in my own mind, and did that, so 210 days. A year later, 55 weeks, she comes back in. She's 100% great. She wears any shoes she wants, she can do whatever she wants, and all that. Here's the x-ray in a year. Still there. Toe, no callus, everything looks good. 17 months. Now this doesn't not supposed to last this long. I can't remember temporary, PSTTA, there's a big T there for temporary. 17 months. Still there, no callus. I'm getting impressed. I said at this point, I better get in the picture. I don't know when it ends. You know, I got to get there for some point. The show was me, and I was there. Okay, here's 514 days. So what's that? Just under 2 years. You know, looks identical to 10 days. 2 years, 23 months. Still better. 2 years. Still there. No callus, nothing. 2.7 years. No problem. 31 months. Still see it. I start to get a little heavier here. 44 months. Right? Oh, yeah. She doesn't get older. I don't know if you noticed this. This lady doesn't get older. There's no question that this wasn't her first shot. You know, welcome to Botox and filler and all that. Right? But, you know, 100% better in 44 months. These are the shoes she's wearing when she walked in. Okay, you can still shove, you know, no real callus there. 44 months. Breaking up a little bit, but still there. I mean, she's got that. Her hammer toe's gotten really worse. You know, you obviously wear those shoes, you're going to have that problem. 4.5 years. Right? 100%.
Is she wearing the orthotics?
No. Somehow nobody wears orthotics. Only men wear the orthotics. Women don't tend to wear them. 4.5 years. What the heck's going wrong? This stuff doesn't go away. And derms are re-injecting them every year with more of this stuff in their body. You start getting MRIs of their face, you're going to start seeing layers of white stuff, calcification, and they're going to be thinking tumor, parathyroid issues. Doesn't go away. 6 years, 3 months. Still, I wear any shoe I want, no pain. So I don't know who's going to live longer, her or me. At this point, she keeps going. Yeah, callus is still gone. She's developed new ones because of the hammer toe, but the one we were treating is still there. So I'm still not there. Here's 6 years, 3 months, 2,281 days. It's still there. I mean, this stuff is going on. So you got to sit and be the judge and look at this stuff and be real careful what you do. It's still there. So let's go back. 0 days, 10 days. What did I learn after the first patient? After 10 days, the stuff doesn't move. So you got to pad it off for 10 days. Not the 1 day like I did with the little pad. You got to pad it off for 10 days. So that's a big lesson you guys can add that I didn't know at that time. Because after 10 days, it stays where you put it. And here it is, goes on, 31 months, and then 44 months, 6 years, all this. This is 6 years. Then she comes in again 7.5 years later. She looks good, I look lousy. Really not fair. She's looking great, I'm getting worse. 7.5 years radius treatment. I can wear any shoe I want, no problem. But, one of those great signs.
So question, if you're doing this, then you recommend that you definitely follow the patient.
Oh, well, you always want to follow the patient. You make money on following the patient. Took the x-rays, they did all that stuff. I never want to lose anybody.
Okay, so the x-ray should be...
I mean, the only way you discharge a patient is a bilateral ECT. If they, the old story, a guy at the VA with 2 legs, what do you call him? Pre-op. What do you call a guy at the VA with 1 leg? Pre-op. You got to save the leg. So here's 2,749 days. It's slowly going away. This stuff lasts a long time. A long, long time. And did I get lucky with beginner's luck the first time? Who knows? A long time. Look at it.
Do you use this all the time?
How many do you do now?
I'll show you some. But can you talk? I want to charge the people now. Now they got to pay for it. Why do you mean I got to pay for it? Why isn't it covered? I got that speech down really good. Because the government doesn't love you. If they loved you, they care about you. The CEO needed to go to Super Bowl and he chose that over you. I'm sorry, you can call him and let him know. But all this stuff. Because we're all searching for the talented youth. I'll show you my results. I'll show you my longitudinal results. Now, everyone's searching for something. Here's another patient, 82-year-old general surgeon's wife, had multiple foot surgeries over 40 years, conservative care, and she's not a surgical candidate, right? You can see somebody did a lousy job with a bioaction implant. You can see the cystic structures here. They fused the second toe, cut this off, cut this. I love when you inherit other people's problems, and then people look at it and go, wow, you ain't that good. That's why I always say judge slowly. Remember the mosquito guy telling him. She had this other callus in the same area. I said, I have a cure for you. Let's work on this. So we'll go and inject this. You can see the area here with not a lot of space. So I go and I inject the stuff in again and effectively put a blob here in whatever capacity. You can see it there. So she comes in 2 weeks later, she's 80%. The last person came in was 90%, I don't know, I'm a little worried and all that stuff. But you can see toe, little erythema around the area. I don't think I do a punch biopsy for those who always want to get their punches out and all that. And what strange and interesting had happened here, even though I padded it off, I did, the 10 days of padding it off, this stuff moved. It moved over the top of the toe onto the other side. I thought that was pretty cool. That was kind of interesting. Because the stuff doesn't move, according to the companies. Here's 27 days later, no pain. Well, I'm no idiot. I'm not going to tell her, doesn't look good on the x-rays. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, you're supposed to have discomfort. Can't you see the films? But the callus is completely gone at that point, and she's okay. Maybe I put too much in and the rest squirted away. I don't know. But it accomplished the problem. From 0 days all on one side to 27 days on both sides. So I think here you can see the callus, and there you can see it's gone. But it's 14 days a little bit, and you come over here and it's gone. 61 days, she's still good. I'm impressed. All that, it's gone, there's no erythema, everything kind of looks good. So if you looked at it, over 2 months, you got a pretty good idea that stuff moves, but it did its job. So that's kind of good. Having a forgiving product is kind of cool to work with. It's kind of like the people who make the soft orthotics. They don't really do any good, but they work. Like, who's the guy who said put a Twinkie in the shoe, they'll feel better? Some people Then 188 days. She's still 100. This is half a year, 6 months. Still doing well. 10 months. Still doing well. No pain. Callus is still gone. At 11 months, a new problem happens. She breaks her toe. Interesting. I don't know. How's that going to affect anything? I thought it would be great. You could push the second toe out of the way now and let it heal crooked. You know, a little bit differently. So, what is interesting is, if you followed it, is that the fillers kind of went away. There was an acute bleeding. There was hyperemic flow to the area. Something changed the dynamics of that space. So her fillers kind of disappeared. You know, the part that went over the top of the toe, you still see a little bit of it there. Let's go to weight bearing, because that's obviously a question. And they talk all the time to plastic surgeons, dermatologists, ENTs, now gynecologists. You have to explain anatomy. You guys don't need this. We'll fly through it. All the little toys and things we've done as a profession, which layer do you put it in? I mean, that's really the big question you have to sit with. We went through CAT scans and MRIs and cross sections. I mean, these things were all put in the skin. But when you get deeper to the foot, the skin moves too much. You'll be out of the way. So that doesn't work. So I had this aha moment when those GDOs, gosh darn obvious. Where does God put the bursa when he needs it? When she needs it, she puts it right there. And aha, that's where I'm going to put the filler. Right under the bursitis. In that same spot. That makes sense, right? We're deep to the skin. We're superficial of the extensor tendons. We're kind of in that area that we all would have no problem finding. The workshops of dermatologists just takes 45 minutes to do. Walk around and show them how to find your spot. So I put the filler there. And here's patient sub-fifth med pain. Kind of classic, right, like that. We all like the game operation. That's how we got here. And it's kind of cool to do surgery, and you offer that. And that was the traditional treatment I had for that problem, right? I'd elevate and tilt up the end of the fifth metatarsal as well. So this one I said, well, let's debride it and then inject it. And she was okay with that. So I don't know. The fanning technique became pretty big about 2007. We were at some meetings. So I injected it. So I came in from the bottom. I came in from the top. I came in from the side. I basically made a lattice pillow interlock, you know, 3 things together, you interlock them in all these directions, and then I thought to myself, I really puffed this thing up a lot. So I gave her a bunch of these pads. She's supposed to wear it all the time. It's not supposed to hit the ground. Showed her, gave her a roll of elastoplast, hold it in place, and took an X-ray and wondered, what the heck is the X-ray going to look like? No clue. So I took a gel, what they call silicone tube, that they use for training on these things. And the needle came in on this side, and the first needle went like this, and then the second one was redirected this way, and the third one was redirected that way. That's probably what it would look like. But then I came from the other side. And then I came from the top and bottom. And that's, you know, I don't know, looked kind of cool, like superstar or hero. And that's exactly what I found when I took the X-ray. Kind of this whole glob mass of stuff. You can put the med head in. And remember, you want to be a little distal to the med head because it's a woman, heels, that's where the pressure point is in that area. So, you know, sesamoid axial, you can see I basically built more sesamoids. And it's weird, this rudimentary sense. She comes in 3 weeks, she's 90% better and no pain. Now, I don't know how you're 90% better and no pain. That was an issue for me, but some people you just can't make happy. You know, welcome to the world. 22, it's still puff up. A lot of hematoma, hemosider in the area. Kind of makes sense. The needle went through 9 times. My shish kebab her. So that doesn't bother me as much. The X-ray looks good. No change really from 2 days to 22 days. I had to get her out of her shoe gear. You know, if you wear the wrong shoes, this stuff isn't going to work. 2 months later, she's back. She's 95% better. Callus is looking much better. Becoming more of a problem. We keep debriding it. People who break their hips still grow callus. You know, the skin's got to get used to it, so we keep debriding it. But if you look at day 0 through day 55, this large central nucleation is probably 20% of that size. It's gotten much smaller. The pillow on the bottom of the foot seems to work. So here's looking at, you know, day 22, day 55. This is probably a better one. Basically, I don't see much of a change. I mean, it's pretty much still there. And I think the key to it is the 10 days of padding. I mean, that's kind of the take home to all this stuff. Don't do like, this is the shoe she wears now and she's comfortable with. And goes, well, Joe, this is about 4 months later, she's only 60% better because she's basically going barefoot and not listening to a lot of things we tell her. Welcome to being female. Day 0, day 116, big difference. You know, there's no question we can show a difference and how well it lasts. So I think about it, here's the results without going through it, because this is too short of an environment to give you everything. But HM, you take a photograph, you want HM's under 60, I'm getting easy 2.5 years pain-free. They're under 60. If they're over 60, I haven't seen a single recurrence yet in 5 years. And I don't know if it's activity or what the reason for it, but here's the numbers. IPKs in the young people, 9 months or so. You're not getting this really long extended period. I think because they go barefoot too much, there's too much translational pivoting. But you know, if you're charging $500, $700 a syringe, and you're doing it every year, it's a nice annuity to it. It pays more than a bunion does. In the 40 to 60-year-old range, it's lasting a little bit longer. I'm not sure why the 60 to 70-year-old range is less, but it is. And I wish I had a better answer. And anybody over 71, 0 recurrence. And just remember, the 71-year-olds in my office come in with their mom and dad. It's not uncommon, you know, patients over 100. What about for the diabetic foot? This is the research I've been trying to get done forever. I got Stephanie Wu a grant from one of the companies that tested, but she was using, you know, way too little stuff to do this, pre-ulcerative areas, and open wounds. So the pros of all this stuff are it's pain relief, it can help patients, it can delay surgery, it's profitable. The cons, there's no research. I tried to do, you know, get the companies to do studies. I was going to publish all these things, but if I publish it, then you're done. The companies won't talk to you ever again. Because God forbid you do a study and somebody dies or has a problem. They don't want to ruin the gold. They don't want to cook the golden goose. It's laying a lot of nice eggs for Allergan and MERS and all them. So they don't want to worry about that. So they're not really encouraging research. I kind of like products. Voluma is a very interesting product. It's one of these ones that is very thick, but you can't see it on x-ray. When to wait there, how much, you got to worry about it. And people in dermatology talk about granulomas. I've never seen one. I don't think anybody ever see a granuloma of the foot? It's kind of rare. I mean, outside of a foreign body, you don't get granulomas. How much? Depending on the size. I just look to whatever's full. You know, I wish there was a science and a measuring and something. That's probably half a cc under an IPJ. Look at this. My take-home lesson. Well, this hypodermabrasion, it's an easy thing you can add. Botox, an easy thing you can add. A little training wouldn't hurt. Peels, a little training wouldn't hurt. Lasers, fillers. And you just search my name at PSTTA, you'll find some lectures, and you'll find it's on Barry Block a lot. And maybe you'll talk to the board, a committee here, and think about, you know, maybe a whole day on lasers and feet or foot facials, hands-on with people to go do this, foot peels, filler work stuff. I think it's hands-on. You want to learn how to do this, people ask for all the time. Call the companies. They'll arrange for you. They want you to do it. They're very big into training people. Remember, it's not FDA approved in the space. Sometimes it's difficult. If you have a problem, let me know. And just think about some cool stuff. And, you know, look at things that are different and how you can make things better and how you can help your patients. That's really what it comes down to. You know, life should never be the same again. You've been exposed to stuff. You want to look for something new and exciting. Boss lady's coming up. Yeah, please. We're going to do Q&As now, aren't we, or something? All right. You guys watched over 1,100 slides for this